Hello everyone, welcome back to Torah in 5 minutes or less. Today we're learning in this Chud for Tzvi Hirschman Dina. We're also going to learn Ilui Nishmat, my grandfather, whose yahrzeit was yesterday, David Ben Harav Yisrael. The topic of these times, the topic of this past month and the next few weeks is definitely Teshuva. So we spoke a lot about Tefillah last week. Let's move together with that towards the concept of Teshuva. This week's parsha guides us to what the end goal of Teshuva is, which when it says, the Torah tells us in Parsha Nitzavim, V'shavta ad Hashem Elohecha v'shemata b'kolo, etc. B'chol levavcha v'chol nafshecha. That the ultimate goal, the ultimate purpose of Teshuva is to really have a full, authentic return with all of your heart and all of your soul. And I don't think there's anyone watching this, and myself included, that hasn't been thinking about Teshuva for, as long as we can remember. Shirim about Teshuva, hearing about Teshuva. What does Teshuva mean? Where are we going back to? What is it? What is the point? And how can I do Teshuva? And what does Teshuva mean every year? I was listening to a shir from Rav Moshe Weinberger, who says such a beautiful idea. He says that often people think Teshuva is a home improvement. Fix something there, do a little bit something here, fix little odds and ends. But really, the idea of Teshuva is not just home improvement, but it's rebuilding something new. It's starting new, it's starting fresh, and rebuilding a new house. And that's what Teshuva is. It's saying, okay, here I am at this point. I have to fix things. There's something spiritually, I'm a little bit stuck. So instead of just like saying, okay, I'll take upon myself something and I'll try and fix a little bit here and there, I'm going to completely re-energize myself and completely start anew. And the question is how do we do that? And I think that maybe a little bit of an answer we can take from Rabbi Nachman of Breslov. And one of my favorite pieces of Rabbi Nachman of Breslov, he talks about what the concept of Teshuva is. And he says that the concept of Teshuva is to be brought back to the place that we have been distanced from. To go back to that authentic place that we once began, to be what we once thought we were capable of being. A child when they're growing up, they have all these great dreams of what they're going to be. And they're going to be an astronaut, they're going to be a this, they're going to be a that. And then as they grow up, reality sinks in and we become more and more practical. But sometimes when we become more practical, technically we lose some of ourselves spiritually because we stop dreaming and we stop imagining what we're capable of becoming. And I think that's today's theme is, Rabbi Nachman says, the ability to imagine something new, the ability to really look at ourselves and think that we are capable of greatness and to see ourselves as capable of something greater than where we are now. Because why are we all stuck? What are we all stuck at? Why does everyone feel that like I'm not in a great place in Chodesh Elul and I'm worried? And it's because when you fail, and we've all failed on different levels, we fail and we get stuck there. Bringing in a totally different source, but one that I love, J.K. Rowling, perhaps one of the most successful authors of all time, definitely of our time, in her commencement speech to the Harvard graduates of 2008, talks about how when she had failed and she was struggling until she became successful, she says that she had failed so much that she hit rock bottom. And the difference was that when she hit rock bottom, she says, and I quote, "Rock bottom became a solid foundation upon which I rebuilt my life." And the question is, how do we see that rock bottom? When we feel like we've hit a place that we're not worthy, or we can't, or we're just stuck, or we're just we've distanced ourselves so far from who we thought we could be. What do we do with that rock bottom? And she says, don't use that rock bottom as I'm stuck here and I just can't move. But use that rock bottom as a place to climb up from and to move forward. And she says it's the willfully unimaginative people that see more monsters and therefore they're more afraid. Which is ironic because if you have less imagination, you see more monsters and you become more afraid. And the opposite. And if you have an imagination, you can see greatness. And I think that's what Rabbi Nachman is saying, is that to use your imagination to see yourself more than you're capable of seeing now, to see yourself as being able to rebuild and to start again and to move forward from that foundation. And imagination is not necessarily the only. Rabbi Nachman is not necessarily the only Hasidic rabbi to look at imagination as a key tool. The Eish Kodesh talks a lot about the significance of imagination, and that the important thing is that when you daven, you should imagine certain things. And he says in a very dramatic piece that when you daven, you should create for yourself this idea that everything you should imagine the world is dependent on this current tefillah. And if everyone is dependent, everyone I know and everyone I love in the world around me is dependent on this tefillah, and imagine that situation, then your tefillah will naturally become stronger. That's a very lofty goal to be able to imagine, but he says a lot to imagine yourself as something. When you imagine yourself as something, you were able to become that. And he actually suggests somewhere else that it's not that you should imagine yourself as a failure and think about all the terrible things that you've done necessarily during Teshuva time, but rather imagine what you're capable of becoming. When you see yourself, when you see greatness in yourself, you will live up to that. So Amir Hashem, as we move forward in Elul and we start to think about and we continue to think about Teshuva, what does it mean with our full selves, with our full heart, with with our full soul, maybe it means to imagine more, maybe it means to think more, to think greater, to think out of the box, to think about what we were once capable of being, to think what we are now capable of being, and to move forward with that, and not to settle for goals that are spiritually less than what we are capable of being, but to use that tool of imagination, and to use that tool of creative imagination to think about what I could be, and then therefore when we see that end goal, to move towards that, and not to see rock bottom as where we're stuck, but to see that as a place where we can rebuild ourselves, not just fix things here and there, but a complete home improvement towards a full teshuva, and therefore reinventing and reinvigorating ourselves with a completely new perspective on coming closer to God and coming closer on really the potential of who we are capable of being.